All right. Well, welcome back to Beyond the Bar, where we dive into the truths, half-truths, and myths that shape the way we see the world of business and beyond. Today, we're tackling a question that sounds counterintuitive: why companies with 5-star reviews might not be as perfect as they seem, and why that's actually a red flag. So today, we're going to talk about a couple of things in line with that. First is the problem with perfection. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how fake or filtered reviews happen. Then the value of some honest criticism. We're also going to talk about how you can spot authenticity. And then how do you apply this to your own business? And we'll wrap up after that. The first one here, the problem with perfection. So let me start with Miles. Miles, this was something that you and I were kind of kicking around and thought, you know what, this would be worthwhile to get out there, get people informed, teach them something. Folks want to learn, and I think this is something that's really important for them to learn about. So what's your first reaction, Miles, when you see a business with nothing but perfect 5-star reviews? And what do I mean by perfect 5-star reviews? I mean, like, there's literally nothing but 5-star reviews.
Right. It seems superficial. It seems fake. And I'm someone who spends a lot of time looking at reviews for companies and businesses and things like that. I mean, truth be told, I'm actually, I don't know if this is like a big bragging right, but just like personally, I'm listed on Google for they call it like a local contributor, whatever the case is.
Local guide.
Yeah, guide. Yeah,
I am too.
I have like literally hundreds of reviews I've left over the years with places I've traveled to and businesses and things like that.
What I want to know is how many followers you have, or how many views.
Oh gosh, I want to say I got last week I got a notification or something like that, and it's up in the thousands. I don't know if that's like...
I have 70 million.
Good Lord.
Whoa. What? I'll show you. I was just showing them up in Idaho.
Jeez.
I still haven't figured out how to monetize that or have that benefit Feller and Wendt. We need to figure that out. But I have over 70 million views of my photos and my reviews.
Right.
It's
crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy. You can tell when you're looking at reviews and stuff, making decisions about where to travel or places to buy from, and it feels super fake when it's just, they have like a ridiculously high number and it's 5 stars across the board. You can't find anything negative about it.
Yeah.
You know, personally, I stray away from that.
Nice. Now, Miles, I was a rude podcast host, and I've not introduced any of my guests, but we've got Miles Hicks.
I'm the only one who really matters. So
that's right. Why? Tell us a little bit more about who you are, what do you do at Feller and Wendt? Yep. Give us a little bit about that.
I'm the client relations manager, and I'm happy to be a part of this because I'm one who interacts directly with clients for responding to our reviews and encouraging people to leave feedback and things like that for us. So
yeah, and then you help me out a lot. I'm the CEO of the company, and every morning you give me an update on how many reviews we have.
Yep, I report every day on what our totals are. We talk about what we're averaging across the board for each of our locations. And even breaking it down to, how many 5 stars versus 4 stars and anything below.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then what companies have we authorized you to use to go out and get us 5-star reviews?
Zero.
Zero.
No,
that's right.
We don't.
I was hoping you would say that because I was like, I didn't authorize anything else.
No,
let's make sure we're aligned here.
And you probably, truth be told, there's probably times when you don't love what I do because I welcome, sometimes negative and poor reviews. And because I think it's great for us to grow and learn from. But
100%. I actually totally welcome that.
Oh,
so
good.
Rest easy there.
Good.
All right. And then you've got next to you, we've got Randon. Randon, tell us a little bit about you, who you are. What do you do for Feller and Wendt?
Yeah, so I'm the marketing manager here at Feller and Wendt. And a big part of what I do is just making sure we get the right people, coming into the firm looking for assistance. And so, the feedback is always helpful for us because as we're trying to, run ads, as Sterling is involved in, And then just the other marketing that we're doing, obviously we want to make sure that we're showing up for the right people at the right time and taking care of them.
If you get to know Randon, you'll know that he's very humble, just like his introduction of himself. He's does a whole lot more than what he just said. He helps us generate over 1,500 leads per quarter, manages a $4 million marketing budget, and he's got a whole team of people that work under him, including, to my right, Sterling. So Sterling, tell us who you are and what you do for Feller and Wendt.
Yeah, Sterling Ruth. The paid ad specialist, so I get to spend company money and learn things.
Yeah, he spends it fast.
I love that it's like I do two things: I spend money and I learn things.
Well, I used to always tease people and say, "Oh, they ask, well, what do you do for a living?" I was like, "Oh, I make money spending other people's money." And
So you're a financial planner.
yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
yeah, essentially. Just run all our ad channels and help out with other things around that Brandon needs help with, like the newsletter and general marketing stuff.
Yeah, and
Script
again,
writing.
Sterling's a humble guy too. Yeah, he does script writing, awesome creative concepts and ideas that he comes up with. A lot of the humorous stuff you see, it comes from the dark recesses of his brain. So we love seeing that stuff. He's been a huge help. We've seen a big jump in number of leads with Sterling coming on board. He's been a great addition to our marketing team here. So glad to have these guys with me. Same question for you guys, though. Sterling, Randon, what do you guys think? You see 5-star review, and I know you guys are a little bit biased, you're brain damaged because of what you do, but what do you think with the 5 stars? What's your first thought?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Miles. And there have actually even been studies done that show people look for 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, and 1 stars, and that is a part of their decision-making process. And so, in my opinion, you're actually hurting yourself if you get rid of those, if you filter those too much. Now, obviously, if it's unrelated to your business, somebody's leaving some serious, strong language that is irrelevant to their experience with you, there are some of those exceptions that you can look into. But yeah, for the most part, those are good things. Like I see them as an opportunity, like Miles said, it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to be like, okay, cool. We take this feedback and now, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think even those really crazy outliers are an opportunity for us to show folks how we deal with crazy people that are going through crazy situations. I shouldn't say crazy people, but we get people that are coming at like the darkest point in their life, so they're not always rational.
Very true.
And it's a nice opportunity to kind of showcase like, hey, this is how we treat everybody with dignity and respect. And even if we can't help you out, we're still gonna, even if you're mad at us, even if it's not justified, we're still gonna treat you like a person.
Totally. There's a huge amount of value that you will find in like an attorney's office, for example, when you see how they react to adversity, right? And the ability for the company to respond in a calm, professional way to find ways to either mitigate, the damage, or just simply just address the concerns or even the confusion that the client or consumer, I guess, the way Google looks at it, how they're responding. And, that's something I take very personally when I shouldn't say personally, but, I take that upon myself when I'm responding to those type of things, and pride myself in making sure that we can address those type of things without starting, or adding fuel to the fire or anything like that, and finding ways to help, even if there is just a complete like mix up, right? We had a few weeks ago, we had someone leave us a review that was really was targeted at a different attorney that they'd had, and I think they dropped their case, and so they were frustrated and tried to find whoever it was online and kind of blow them up, and to be able to address that and be like, hey, that's terrible, that sounds awful, let's chat about this and see, maybe if there's something we can do to help, or whatever the case may be. But those things happen.
Sterling, how about you? What's your thought?
Yeah, same. I guess I've been around marketing long enough to be jaded by the reviews, especially in the beginning when reviews started becoming more popular. they were all fake. They were all 500 or 5-star, and you could pay people a tiny little bit of money and give you reviews.
Tell us a little bit about that. How that actually work? Like, I think people hear about that, but they're like, you're just jealous. Like, what does that mean that you're paying people to do reviews? Like,
Yeah, so one of the routes that I personally did not choose to go down, but I know other people who did. Is Amazon used to have a program called Mechanical Turks, where you could say, "Hey, I want this many people to go and do a review, and you just pay a certain amount, and then they go and do it, and it's all like offline. You don't have to worry about it; it just goes and gets done, kind of like a Fiverr gig."
so is it like they're going out and they're hiring people in India to just write reviews,
Yeah,
and then they're posting them up? So
yeah,
it looks like real reviews.
yeah.
Google can't tell, but all of a sudden you just got 100 5-star reviews from, Bombay.
Yeah,
Mumbai,
yeah, exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's and I actually came across a company just this week. I'd have to look them up and see what it was. I came across them on social media, but and it's kind of sad, but that's what they are advertising, is they're trying to help companies. They say, well, we'll get you to the top of Google just simply by the amount of traffic and reviews that we can have. And they literally showcase, in their ad, we have, and it's these just table after table of phones that look like they would in a, an old Radio Shack. They're just set up. Boom, boom. And it's this army of phones, and each one of them is equipped basically with its own generic Google account. And they will just start directing that traffic with fake clicks and fake traffic and then fake reviews. And what a nightmare.
Yeah, I think inherently, from a business owner, I think to myself, there's a part of me that's kind of enticed by that. I'm like, oh, that could do well for us. But then I feel like where I have always been really resistant to that, and I think reputable companies is that's consumer fraud.
Totally.
You're not getting to me, it's very equivalent to how the restaurant industry goes out and takes photos of their hamburgers that look nothing like their actual hamburger, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's consumer fraud to a certain extent. And I understand there's some latitude there, and I'm not saying you have to sue every single, hamburger ad out there, though I will say McDonald's does a good job of making their hamburgers online look very similar to the hamburger that you get. I think they've done a decent job with that, but there's a lot of other places where it's definitely misleading. So for us, I've always thought that it's not, you shouldn't do that. And we talked a little bit about, all the contributors or the local guide status that I have. One of the reasons I do that, and I do take so many pictures of food, is because I want to counter that. You go onto a restaurant's website and you get these, it's not food, I've learned. Most of the time it's claymations and stuff set up, right?
And they spray it with all kinds of stuff to make it shine.
So I take real photos. That's actually why I have so many views. It's I just take photos of everything I eat. It's probably also part of my weight problem, but it's fantastic.
You look great.
So I like that though, because I found that I do that now. If I'm going to go to a restaurant, I don't even look at the website pages or pictures anymore. I look at the actual photos that are left by other folks that have been there.
Well, it's kind of fun too to look at those photos.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times there's not many of them.
Yeah.
And so when we went to Hawaii last year, we were trying to figure out, okay, on our way home, where are we going to grab a bite to eat? And, not being super familiar with the airport because it was our first time, I was like, man, there's some places that sound pretty good, but I just couldn't tell if it was going to be, worthwhile. So anyways, we ended up going to California Pizza Kitchen and they had no photos whatsoever.
Really?
And so one of the things that people overlook a lot is there's a big difference between the Google Maps reviews and then things like Apple Maps. And a lot of times we forget we have those options. And so, small plug here, but it's great to go and leave reviews on multiple platforms for the same company, because now you're able to spread that word further, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, back to my thing. so they had no pictures. I took a picture, just like you said. I took a picture of our pizza, put it on there, and that was actually what started me leaving more reviews,
Yeah.
because I was like, pictures is where it's at.
Yeah.
I
100%.
every month I get thousands of views from that single
Yep.
one, from that single review.
So that's how I kind of started off, because I wanted to help local businesses out. And then with traveling, it was also a competition with my other brothers that were kind of had a head start on me. One of them already had a million views of their stuff. And I was like, oh, I can beat you guys at this.
Dude,
I
totally
passed
gonna
them up
look now.
fast. But I went similar to you. There was a restaurant in in Huntington Beach, and it was called Braxton's or something like that. It was like a waffle sandwich shop. They had like this special waffle, and you could get chicken and stuff. It was awesome. It's one of our favorite places to go out there. I took a picture. They ended up posting that on their website. It was their primary like landing picture.
Nice.
And it alone got over 1 million views. So
You didn't copyright that? Like,
No, I
you could
should've,
make some money.
man.
We're
That's what I'm
talking
telling
about
you.
monetizing here.
that's what I said. I've got to
Wow.
monetize it. So Google, so far, for all the hard work I've done for them, they've given me a pair of Local Guide socks. I got a Local Guide pin. And I did get invited to go to like their Local Guide workshop, which seemed like it was like almost kind of like a dating thing for single up and coming Google people. I was like, I missed the window on that.
was
I
great,
missed the
yeah.
window.
Totally just a small, again, kind of off topic, but a small plug. Do you, Google also has an additional service where they do surveys. You guys know about this? And they pay you to take surveys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you don't get, they don't mail you a check, but actually you get money added to like your Google account. So if you like buy a book or apps on the Play Store and stuff like that, you can use that and you pay for it all.
Nice.
And so
See, so you guys know I'm not just hyperbole.
That's crazy.
73 million views right there.
Jeez, filthy.
So
Got to show that to the camera.
I don't know what that means.
Here
Can
I
you see
was
that?
thinking, I'm like,
Tom,
I'm a
can you
local
see that on the
guide,
camera?
guys.
You want the screenshot? Okay, I'll just shoot him a screenshot and then he can post that up.
I thought I was like big time. I'm a local guide. I got like probably like
You ain't got-
6,000.
You ain't got nothing on me.
Nope,
See, I was setting
nothing.
you up for that so I could brag a little.
Dude, okay.
All right, I'm sending this over to Tom. All right, let's move on to some
Tho-
of these
those
other
headphones
things.
still fitting okay?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're like stretching, feeling some pressure. All right, let's talk a little bit about the next topic here. So, how do fake or filtered reviews happen? Sterling, you told us a little bit, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these. I did a little bit of research, and then I've been like actually solicited by these companies as well. I think you have too. But there's Fiverr, Gig Sellers, BuyReviews.app, and AppSally, which sell bulk positive reviews by hiring low-cost freelancers or automated bots to post on flat platforms like Google, Yelp, Amazon, and TripAdvisor. These reviews often use generic language, stock images, and recycled text to pass basic authenticity checks. So Google does do that. They check for authenticity, but they're always trying to game the system, these companies. So there's legit companies out there. Talk a little bit about that. You guys know about any more? You've been solicited by them? Any of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the world I live in too when I'm dealing with that each day. But they're everywhere. And one of the kind of the soapbox I have when I talk to people about Google and reviews and things like that is specifically when you break it down. And the analogy I use is this, right? If you go to a buddy of yours and you ask for, hey, like, man, I got to get a haircut, something terrible. Like, who's your haircut guy? Who do you go to?
Right.
And they give you a recommendation, and you go there, and it's like, God, this is the worst haircut I've ever got in my life. Right. Chances are you're probably not asking your buddy for that recommendation anymore, right? Google is exactly that, and people have to realize that Google is a business, and they make their money based on people asking it for referrals to different things, right? So it's in a business's best interest to be as authentic and as honest as possible. Now, granted, it's tough these days to combat that with all the AI, rage going on and these other companies. But their kind of game plan here is that if they start monitoring this a lot more closely, they will start to be able to hopefully weed out all these fake accounts and things like that, because what it's in their best interest as well as a business to refer or, you know, respond with that Google search with referrals that are credible and things that people are going to respond to and, you know, enjoy. And then you hopefully leave reviews with, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I will say that in Google's defense, I know they get vilified sometimes, but I do think that they're trying to be the good referring neighbor, right? They want to get you to authentic places. There's just so many companies that are built out there. There's a whole industry built around these reviews. Sterling, you know a lot about it.
Yeah, there's
It's crazy.
yeah. When I think about that, it seems like if they're trying to game the system, they're going to have to figure out a way to be authentic anyways if they want to do a long-term job. It's like, well, why pay him when you could just do the exact same thing and actually be authentic and figure that part out?
well, and that's to your point though. I think that's where people have to realize the credibility, right? It's long term. You can come and be a flash in the pan and be here for a short time, not a long time. Or what do they say? Here for a good time, not a long time, right? But then you're not going to last. I think one of the things we do very well here at Feller and Wendt is we work through that process because we intend to be here for a very long time and to be a good, beneficial organization for, the public, for, society, for, just the people we're around. And that's hats off to us, but that's the way we got to do it.
Well, I think that's part of it. And I think some of it is that we know we do a dang good job. So, but we also know that we're a growing business. We just grew from, I think we had like 30 employees. We're up to 67. We have new people. They're going to make mistakes every now and then. Sometimes those mistakes manifest in a bad review. But like you said, Miles, before, it's an opportunity for us to go back. You are specifically in charge with calling that client and talking to them about it. We do all this with the utmost confidentiality as well. But yeah, it's an opportunity for us to go back to the teams and say, hey, maybe we did drop the ball here.
Yeah.
Let's digest this and kind of check it out. Randon, you were going to say something.
Yeah. So I actually have a very recent example, literally from this week, of how this bulk approach from these outsourced, vendors is a short-term thing. So I'm part of a few different, entrepreneur groups, and one of those is cleaning companies. And so it's been really interesting over the last couple of years to be part of this group, because while I have recommended ways for them to go out and get reviews that are going to stick, several of them have not done that, and they've gone and used Fiverr and Upwork and whoever else to find these agencies or these individuals who will go and create these reviews for you. Well, Google, because of all that's happening and kind of what we've been discussing so far, and a few things that I'm sure we'll probably bring up down the line in this conversation, they have gotten very strict. And it seems like they start at the most sensitive industries like healthcare, legal, financial, and then they just kind of work their way down. Well, this week, I don't know what it was, but they hit the cleaning industry. And so these people are absolutely beside themselves. Like, my reviews are all gone. And I'm just like, you guys,
Yeah.
I told you, you should be getting reviews like this. And obviously I'm not going to sit there and babysit, because I don't care. I don't get money from them.
Right.
But it's just funny because now they're all sitting here bent out of shape about it, freaking out. They're like, my business is going down. I'm like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
You went and got crap reviews.
Right.
Now Google's cracking down on it.
Yeah, and we've had our frustrations with Google because they've unfairly cleaned some of ours, and then we've been able to get in touch with them, and they recognize that ours didn't come through some third-party company, and they've put them back on. But counter to that is one of my least favorite groups, and a lot of people use it, is Yelp. I hate Yelp because Yelp quarantines reviews. And then what they do is they actually, so Feller and Wendt is never paid to be on Yelp because I am just loath to their business model. I think it is, again, I think it is deceptive to the consumer. So Yelp starts out with, hey, pay us.
Right.
We notice you had a couple bad reviews. If you pay and become a Yelp member or whatever, get those bad reviews off and we'll make sure we're quarantine any bad reviews. And I'm like, I'm not doing business with you.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about that, anybody. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I've ran ads on Yelp, and it's very much pay to play type of thing, and you just kind of feel icky when you're doing it, and it really doesn't provide any value for your business.
No,
especially the paying ads part. But yeah, I mean, for myself, I don't even use Yelp because every time I've gone on it, it's not helpful. The reviews aren't helpful. It's hard to navigate, and it's like a waste of time. Like I'll prefer Facebook or Google reviews over that
for sure.
Any day of the week.
Yeah. And I think that's people, I hope folks that listen to this, just tee into that. I would encourage you not to use Yelp. I think the entire business model is built around trying to steer folks to companies that just whoever pays Yelp the most is going to get, they're going to be top of the list. They're going to be, and there's some of that with Google too. There's some positioning, but Yelp is just unabashed about it. They're looking to.
I think it's their last grasping hope to stay alive, right? They're right now they're in a position from a business perspective to pocket any kind of cash they can to stay alive because they're squandering.
Right.
But I mean, there's a whole kind of concept around the fact that Google is it's king right now. But there's a good thing and a bad thing to that. I'm a firm believer probably in the next decade of our lives. I think something else will probably eventually come along and probably dethrone Google.
Yeah.
Or at least give it a run for its money.
Yeah. I think there's also some anti-competition SEC filings that are being looked at and are actually being pursued right now that are trying to grapple with this. Like, how do we keep, even if it's Google, like as much as I'm a fan of Google right now, what if they become the only one and it's kind of, they're the one driving all the business and can kind of dictate the economy, right? A couple other things I wanted to talk about for the viewers. There are things like selective review solicitation. There's suppressing or removing negative reviews. Those are two other big tactics that happen. Again, a lot of times I think if it's authentically done through the company, that's okay. And it's really hard for consumers to know if that's happening or not. But just know there are a lot of these businesses out there that employ third parties to do that artificially. And again, the reason why that's important, going back to the title of our topic, whenever you see just straight 5 stars, I believe it's a universal maxim. Those folks are gaming the system. Should be an immediate red flag for you. If it's just straight 5-star reviews, that's all you're seeing, and they are using these types of tools and strategies that, again, are intended to deceive you about who they really are. For us at Feller and Wendt, Miles, how many reviews do we have right now?
I think we're like at 960 across the board. We're closing in on the big 1,000 mark.
Yep.
So.
And they're not all 5-star. What's our average rating?
Across the board, it varies a little bit from office to office, but one of our offices were like 4.8. The other one's at 4.9. We don't have any of our offices, to be honest, that are an even 5.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, that's one thing, like even with marketing, with Miles, I've said, I'd be really concerned if we did have 5.
Totally.
I don't want 5. I want authenticity. I want real reviews out there. We have negative reviews. We have great positive reviews. We highlight the positives, but we remain authentic. And I would encourage the viewers, folks that are tuning in on this, stay away from the 5-star companies and look towards the more authentic. When you see obviously you don't want to go somewhere that's got a 3-star. That's bad. But look at the number of reviews and then dig in there a little bit too. I know, sometimes we're trying to make a speedy decision, but I would say if you are operating on speed, stay away from the 5.0s and look towards the 4.7s, 4.8s, 4.9s.
Yeah, and actually something to go along with that. So it actually ties into Yelp. It also ties into, consumer protection and, your consideration process. So Yelp is a business directory, right? And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of business directories out there. Whether you use companies specifically can go and use tools like Bird Eye or Bright Local, Yext, and they can go and they can update these business directories in bulk.
Mhm.
Well, there's tons of business directories out there, and a lot of the time, the company is almost bribed into getting to use that platform. And so, in fact, something that we saw this week, we had a lead come in. It was from, at least best that we can tell, they went through a newer business directory for legal matters. And a lot of these directories, what they will do, and this is kind of what Yelp does as well, they will go and create a profile on behalf of the company. And then they'll throw in details and information about that company that may not be accurate at all.
Yeah, Yelp did that to us.
And
It's
so
messed up.
this lead that came through, it is messed up. Totally irrelevant practice area, was not relevant to us at all. And the search that the person came from, because they somehow interacted with our Google ad, it recorded their search. And so we were able to go in and do that search and be like, okay, cool. Like, this is most likely where it came from because it's the only thing that tied us to that search. And so that's why I say it's the best that we can tell. This directory is where they came from. And that directory totally misrepresented us. And so these directories, they could have irrelevant reviews as well. And so that is why it's so important to consider things like, okay, what's their Google business profile like? What's their Apple Maps profile? Facebook reviews? You know, those are 3 of the big 5 that we need to be looking at as consumers. And so, yes, Yelp and these other business directories, they are useful, but only to a certain extent. And you know, if you're on a page and it says claim this business, it's probably not actually the business putting that information there, because they haven't even gone and claimed that business on that directory. So you've got to really be looking for some of those signals to be like, okay, is this reputable information, or is this just this company's trying to get a backlink or like get a paycheck from this company who they're building this profile for?
Well, and I think to your point too, it's not always the company. They're not in the know. Like we didn't even know what Yelp was doing. Yelp does have a profile on us. It's not a profile that we've ever purchased or owned. We didn't authorize it. Quite frankly, I don't know how they get away with doing that without getting, I ought to sue them one day for copyright or tortious interference or something. But anyway, you can tell I really don't like Yelp. Let me talk a little bit about the next thing I want to talk about is the value of honest criticism. We've touched on it a little bit here and there, but to kind of hone it in, there's some real world examples of businesses out there that have done this already. I'm not saying they do it all the time, but Amazon, for instance, publicly banned incentivized reviews in 2016, which they said kind of showed a commitment to transparency, even though it temporarily lowered some product ratings. TripAdvisor flags suspicious reviews and has publicly named and shamed hotels caught buying fake feedback. I mean, the travel industry is one where Yelp is, it's got to be super frustrating to own a hotel and have to deal with Yelp. At Feller and Wendt, we've had cases where clients left constructive 3 or 4-star reviews mentioning small delays or communication hiccups. Instead of hiding these, we responded publicly, explained how we addressed the issue, and often saw those same clients update their ratings later on. And that is something that's permissible. And that's what Miles does, is he'll call them up, try to get a better understanding of what's going on. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding on the client's behalf. And when that happens, they'll go back in and update their rating quite often. Domino's Pizza is another one that famously embraced criticism of its pizza turnaround campaign, admitting flaws in its recipe and showing how it improved, which boosted both sales and customer trust. So with those kind of in mind, why does a mix of positive and constructive feedback feel more authentic?
I think a big part of it is people want to know where you messed up. Not because they're trying to cancel you in our modern terminology, but it's nice to know, okay, if this part of the experience is super important to me, are they delivering on that part of the experience? Right. And so like a Domino's Pizza, that was a fascinating campaign to watch because it
was.
absolutely transformed Domino's.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
like, well, it was a part of it, right?
Right.
But yeah, like you show that ownership. You know, we here at the firm we talk a lot about Extreme Ownership, the book by Jocko, and that's a big part of it. You're showing that ownership, but then you're also showing like, hey, you matter. Like we value your feedback. Give us more.
Right.
Right. So then not only are you showing them that you are sincere about trying to provide a great experience, but you're not hiding those mistakes. You're owning them. You're turning them into a positive. And then down the line, I mean, Domino's dominates. They're doing great right now.
Yeah, my kids love it. I still don't like Domino's, but it's not their fault. I just
You know, Yelp is a massive investor in Domino's, right? So just that's probably why.
yes,
Right?
You just got those
maybe,
vibes.
maybe. Sterling, what about you? What do you think about that mix of positive and constructive feedback? Also, I mean, with your past too, I know you've done a lot of marketing and stuff, but have you seen this where have you worked for companies or helped companies that didn't do it authentically and then did and just kind of have seen the difference? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, similar to what Randon was talking about earlier. You know, Google's gone through different iterations of how they're going to slap different types of businesses. You know, they go through these penguin updates and these different SEO things, which is the exact same thing. But yeah, I've seen companies lose reviews, have to start. I've got a friend of mine that has a solar company. He's had to start his business listing multiple times because early on, that's what he did, was pay for some Russian reviews kind of thing. And then they just got taken away, and he's had to do that multiple times, which every time you do it, you lose all the reviews you had in the first place. And so you're like wasting time and wasting effort to just not be authentic.
That's crazy. I just did a trip to India, and one thing that's kind of interesting that came out of there, I kind of follow the news over there because of my ties to India, but we're not the only country that's grappling with this. They have got a huge issue. I think it's on Facebook over there where they just went through and they just cleaned out like millions of accounts. Because one of the plays that was happening over there was they just set up all these like fake accounts, and they've been disruptive to the review and business processes within Facebook throughout India. But also, I've got to imagine that it's impacted us and other big players around the world. But I know they're getting a lot of big backlash because the way they cleaned it out, it looks like they maybe have cleaned out some pretty legitimate accounts too. But that just shows you how serious they are about it. Now, I think these companies are getting more and more sophisticated and quite frankly, fed up with the fakes, and they're drilling down on them. So if you don't do it the right way, I think it's going to come back to bite you. But again, you know, it's just tough. So let's talk a little bit about spotting authenticity. We've done some deep dives, how you might be able to do that. And I've got to be honest, Randon, half the time he talks to me, I'm like, did you just speak Chinese? I don't know what you're talking right. You're saying to me. And I imagine that most of our viewers are that way too. For us, we're trying to like jump on, I want to see if this restaurant's going to be legit. I'm willing to take a few minutes to look at your overall reviews, maybe look at one or two here or there, to look at a couple picks, and then I'm making a decision. I'm going or I'm not going. If I'm not, I'm actually a little bit bugged because now I've got to look at another place, right? So I think that's how most people are making those rapid fire decisions. What should they be looking at? If they're rapid fire, they don't have a lot of time, you've got 2 minutes, I need to know if this place is legit or not. What should they be looking for?
I think some of the things I usually look for and what I would direct people to do, or some of my suggestions would be, look at some of the reviews, right? Look at the overall rating. Look at how many reviews they have. When you start, if you want to read through some of the reviews, which you should, just kind of pay attention to verbiage, right? Some of the other little more finite details are you can look at like the user that left the review and look and see if it looks legitimate. If it's something like X2K725F39, it's probably not legitimate, right? It's probably a bot. Also look at things like the time span. You can also see when the reviews were left. If you're looking at a place that claims to be, this new and upcoming or whatever, you know, this hip and now type of thing, but you look and the last review was left 7 months ago, you know, things like that, you can tell that some of the, you know, those details aren't adding up.
Right.
And I'm like terrible at math, but man, it's real quick. You can tell those things don't add up. So.
Well, and I think too, you got to correlate some data, right? So there's only like 4 reviews to the business just opened 4 days ago.
Right.
How old are the pictures? Like your point with the California Pizza Kitchen, you know, you're putting up the picture, you know. So I think that, and then you mentioned the date of the review as well. If it's 7 months old, the negative, but then there's 100 positives after that, you can probably factor in that's good. But again, I'm going to go back to the title. I think one of the biggest quick red flags is, man, there's a company, and we've got some of our competitors. I've done a deep dive on them, and they're advertising that they have thousands of 5-star reviews, and they're not lying, but that's all they have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the red flag. It's just when it's just 5-star reviews, and you go to filter to try to find the 1 stars, the 2 stars, the 3 stars, and you filter, and it's none.
Yep.
And it's all 5-star. Like, those are fakes, folks. That's fake. That's generated. There's a lot of private equity money and venture capitalist money that's coming into the personal injury sector that funds that. And when I say funds, I'm talking millions of dollars. They're willing to pay millions of dollars to manufacture that, but it's fake.
And
it's fake stuff.
One of the things that I will say, and I'm not here to toss shade at any of the other industries or out there or any of our competitors, whatever the case may be, but when I interact with clients on a daily basis, there are lots of times, and fortunately for us, that they come to us because they had a poor experience with
the guys
attorney.
that got 5-star reviews.
Exactly.
And they even said, I left them a bad review. And then you're like,
it doesn't exist. That's weird.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
magic. Right.
That disappeared.
I can tell you for sure that some of those things are tried and true red flags because my personal experience with them will tell me, oh yeah, gosh, they don't do anything, or they dropped my case because this and this, or gosh, I call and then no one ever answers the phone, and they're just so rude, and they just treat you like a number.
Yeah.
But yet you go to their website or you go to their Google listings, and it's like, we care about everyone. And we have so many 5 stars that show it. It's not.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I did want to, if you ever go ChatGPT this or something, like, how do I spot authentic companies? One of the things they'll talk about are review spikes. And we actually do have review spikes at Feller and Wendt. So I want to talk about that a little bit because we run focus groups. When we run focus groups, these are folks from the communities, the local communities that we bring in either on Zoom or we do it in-house. And there'll be anywhere from 8 to 16 folks or something like that. We bring them in. We run them through a whole bunch of scenarios and different cases. It's like mock juries. And afterwards, we do ask them to leave us a review. And so we'll have a spike. Most people love that. I think I've only had one person that didn't like doing the focus group. So they leave us some really good positive reviews about that experience. And so we do see some spikes. So I would say, well, spikes are something to kind of red flag. If you see all of a sudden there's like 20 new positive reviews, that's not always a bad thing.
What I will say, though, is we are here at Feller and Wendt, we're very specific about those spikes. And we actually specifically ask our clients when they leave reviews after the focus groups that the review is directed specifically at the focus group and it's their experience with that.
Yeah.
I'll say the focus groups are great because it gives us an opportunity to kind of help educate, people and help them overcome that, reading a book by its cover. Gosh, what's the term I'm thinking of? Like this.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. Well, no. What's the term? Now we're getting. Now I'm in the weeds, but. Just the
Miles never goes into the weeds.
Ever.
Never.
But overcoming those. Gosh, you're gonna have to edit some cuss words on it. I'm like having a stroke or something.
Hey, that makes it authentic.
Yeah, right.
We've been talking about authenticity.
Well, if I may add a comment while you're thinking, what you're talking about is very important because Google cares, and these other platforms, they care about the message that comes with the review too. A lot of the times we don't think about that, but they consider that, especially Google.
Mm-hmm.
They care about what is said in that review. And so, going back to things that you were talking about of what to look for, if somebody has got this huge, long message about how great the company is and they're going into all these details, and you're just like, man, how do you know this company made 25% profit margin off of your purchase? Right. Like, they know a little too much, right?
Right.
You can spot a liar from a mile away when you really look at those, contextual elements.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually kind of funny because literally yesterday I was watching The Big Bang Theory. It's one of my favorite TV shows. And it's the one where Leonard and Sheldon lie to Penny for the first time because they hear her singing and they're like, no, we don't want to come to your show. And she's like, well, why not? And so Leonard lies and says, oh, well, we've got this symposium that we're going to.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sheldon gets all uncomfortable and spends the whole night planning out this big elaborate other lie to replace the lie that Leonard had told him, or that had told her. So anyways, my point being, Sheldon goes into this massively long, detailed lie, and that's something to consider when you're looking at reviews too.
Mm.
If they seem like they know a little too much, they probably are fake. They probably are a liar, right? So that's another thing to consider with what you guys were talking about. I don't know if that gave you enough time to remember your thing.
No, I mean,
He was just so enthralled by your story.
it was, yeah.
I was too. I was like, now I want to go watch this.
Where's the
episode.
popcorn?
Big Bang Theory, right? Yeah. No, we were talking about the focus groups, but they're great because they help overcome those preconceived notions that people think about attorneys, and it really helps kind of break it down for people. So they're great. But anyway, the point was those spikes are sometimes they're okay, but if people do kind of the research and look at those reviews, they'll see we are specifically asking for people to leave context that's applicable to their experience.
Yep, absolutely. Sterling, any final thoughts?
Oh, I was gonna say what I do for authenticity is I'll skip the 5s, skip the 1s. The 1s are just people who are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look at the 2s and the 3s, especially the longer paragraphs, to like get a real insight to what that person experienced. Because if they take the time to go and list all the stuff, they're spending their own time giving you feedback. That's the kind of stuff I want to know. Like that negative feedback that's free feedback from the public of how well or not well your business is doing. And those 2s and 3s, 4s are okay, but 2s and 3s really give you that lift of like, oh yeah, we could improve here. We could talk to these people and see if they'll improve it, or just reviewing those specific ones.
Well, and the response from the company is huge to me.
Right.
I love going through and seeing someone who owns up to it, right? And they don't pass the buck. They just simply say, hey, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, we need to work on this. And thank you for your feedback. It's valuable. We want to be able to use this to train and help improve our process.
I will tell you, watch out on those responses for AI. There's a lot of companies now that are deploying AI on the responses. It's pretty easy to see it. So I would say I'm a big fan of that. I want to see, I give companies the benefit of the doubt. Every company makes mistakes. And that's why for me, one of the big red flags is when you're projecting that you don't ever.
Right.
That's the 5 stars only. I think I'm going to shy away from that company. But then I'm like Sterling. I want to kind of see, I want to see some of the mud you got into. But I want to pay attention to how you responded, and I want to make sure that that's not a cut and paste response over and over.
That's
if so, I'm not doing business with you. But if I see some meaningful responses out there, that's awesome. Like for us, we don't have a script for responses. We have some guidelines because we have some ethical responsibilities. We can't. If somebody complains and says, hey, I don't know why you withdrew from my case, it was crap, but we can't respond and say, well, we withdrew from your case because your case sucked.
Right, yeah.
We get into a whole bunch of legal trouble for that. So there's some parameters on how we can respond. We'll still respond to that, but we do it in an ethical way that doesn't violate any attorney-client confidentiality and doesn't hurt them and their claims later on if they did decide to go with somebody else. So I do say watch those responses. Make sure they're not just cut and paste responses. If they are, it's a company that's doing these kinds of things that we've talked about that are artificial. Get out of there. So anyway, we're out of time, past time, but just want to remind everybody, authenticity beats perfection every time. If you're running a business, aim for honesty, not an impossible image. And as consumers, let's reward the companies that keep it real. I think that's super important. Until next time, I'm Thaddeus Wendt. This is Beyond the Bar. Stay sharp, stay curious, and never trust something that looks too perfect. Thanks.